Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on another episode of the Kris Kondrad Movie Review Show. Today I'm reviewing Out of the Furnace, starring Christian Bale and Casey Affleck, as two brothers living in the factory town of Braddock, Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh. And it's the story of these two brothers struggling with their dead-end, blue-collar existence. Christian Bale works in the local steel mill, hence the title Out of the Furnace. I believe that's where they got the title. And he's dating Zoe Saldana, so he's got a cute girlfriend and a steady job and an otherwise kind of just boring blue-collar existence. Till one day he gets a little drunk and smashes into another car, killing the driver and passenger. And it's a great car crash scene, very jolting and somewhat graphic. Kind of feel like you're there and a part of it all. And he's not portrayed as an asshole. He doesn't flee the scene. It's not a hit and run. He sticks around to try to help the victims. But because he was drunk and has killed them, he ends up doing some prison time. And here he's visited by his younger brother, played by Casey Affleck, who is also in the Army. And his character has been fucked over by the stop-loss program and keeps finding himself back in Iraq fighting the war all over again. And it's kind of messing with his mind. It's got him a little unhinged. And when he's not fighting the war in Iraq, he's fighting bare-knuckle brawls in Braddock and drinking excessively and gambling out of control, and he's just on the path to self-destruction. So when Christian Bale gets out of jail, as his, being the older brother, it tries to take Casey under his wing and, get him to fly straight, live the life of a square. It's not exciting, but it's healthy and, better way to live. And the two have a great chemistry. They don't necessarily look like brothers. They could be, but they have great chemistry, and both turn in great performances. I've always liked Casey Affleck, but, he's a solid actor who just seems to be getting better as he gets older. And Christian Bale really is a great actor. I didn't like him as Batman, but I'm not going to get into that here. But otherwise, he's usually pretty good. I loved him in American Psycho, although he seemed to just be playing himself. And he's known as a major douchebag in real life, and he probably is, but you know what? Who cares? To concentrate on his acting, and he turns in a wonderful performance. It's one of his best performances. Very reminiscent of the role he played in The Fighter, a similar type character and similar performance. And the directing is good, as you can see in the background. It's directed by Scott Cooper, a guy who just started directing movies. He started out as an actor, and then his directorial debut was Crazy Heart, a little movie starring Jeff Bridges as an aging alcoholic country singer. And that movie was enjoyable. I liked it. It was no masterpiece, but it was a fine waste of my time. And in this movie, I give it about the same. It's 2.5 out of 4 stars. That's not a high rating, but it's not a low rating. It's thumbs up with reservations. It's just a solid film. It's very character-driven, kind of, slow, languid plot. Well acted, well directed. It feels like the great films from the 70s, although I wouldn't put it on par with most of those. It's a solid film. I love this scene here where Christian Bale gets out of prison. Again, just feels natural, feels like a guy getting out of prison. And that's part and due to the really good directing job by Scott Cooper and the great acting job by Christian Bale. And again, I love this here. He's just going to keep running. It just feels very natural and feels like a guy that just got out of the joint. So I love the scene. And there's a lot of good scenes like this. The weakest part of the movie would have to be the screenplay. It's the age-old revenge story we've seen 1,000+ times, and there's nothing fresh or new about it at all. It's just, we've been here, done that. But it's well done, well executed, wonderfully acted, and well directed. And thus I give it a thumbs up. It's not a masterpiece, but it's definitely worth your time. If you're a fan of any of these actors, it's worth checking out. And it's got a great feel for its location. It's a great feel location. Not unlike Winter's Bone of several years ago. It reminds me of that was the southern setting. This is northern. But just this great rural meets urban environment of this Appalachian area, where Virginia and Pennsylvania and New Jersey all touch borders. Yeah, New Jersey. There's a scene where they talk about fighting these guys in the mountains of New Jersey, and I'm like, there's mountains in New Jersey? So I learned some stuff geographically, so there's that to it as well. Woody Harrelson shows up as the villain, and he exudes menace and malice pretty well. He's creepy in it, and you'll want to steer clear of his character. I love Woody Harrelson, and it's interesting seeing him play the villain. Forrest Whitaker shows up in a brief performance as a local cop who's also now dating and living with Zoe Saldana, who's Christian Bale's ex-girlfriend. And I love Forrest Whitaker. It's cliche to say he's always good, but he's always good, and he's good here. Zoe Saldana is the female lead, but she doesn't have a lot to work with. It's a man's movie, and she's kind of relegated to a small role. But she does a good job. Her main purpose seems to be to prove that she's fine even without wearing makeup, and she pulls it off. So you go, girl. You also get Willem Dafoe in a supporting role, and I love Willem Dafoe. He just seems to pick the right screenplays. I love almost every movie he's in, and this movie, again, I don't love, but I did enjoy. Reminded me again of something like Winter's Bone, although that movie was a little too languid, a little too slow-paced, even for me. This movie's got more going on. It's not an action film, so if you're looking for action, look elsewhere. It's just a quiet, meditative character story. And it succeeds at that. You're compelled, and it's very highly watchable to the final frame. Again, nothing original at all about this film, but just a well-done film. Better than most films I've seen this year. And Casey Affleck, I was worried about him with the bare-knuckle fighting thing. He's like a scrawny little dude, but look at it. He's hit the gym. He's kind of like got a Bruce Lee thing going on, so he even works in that too. So overall, just a highly enjoyable, decent film, 2.5 stars. Check it out. If you like these actors, it's definitely worth your time. And until next time, thanks for joining me on the Kris Kondrad Movie Review Show.